Hi there, good evening. Hope you had a great Sunday. And now it's time to look forward to the coming week. Welcome back to this week's edition of Looking Forward. The show is about stories that are shaping up over the coming days and weeks. News that is developing and would have consequences for your life and mine and impact our choices. Stories that shape India's and world's politics and economics going forward. So let's get going. Tonight's show packs a punch with 5 stories that you should look forward to this week. First up, the Vande Mataram debate comes to Parliament tomorrow, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi leading the BJP charge on the Treasury benches. It's going to be a hot one on ideological moorings of present-day politics and polity. It's going to be nationalism versus liberalism. We take a look. Second, the same coming week is going to see a discussion on the special intensive revision of electoral rolls and electoral reforms, in fact, in Parliament. A hot button issue with the opposition there. The government agreed to it following protests and pandemonium in both the houses. And this one is going to look forward to coming elections in at least half a dozen states, including Bengal. Story number 3 tonight is about the United States trade representative leading a team of negotiators to take the India-US trade talks further to the next round this week. Story number 4 is about Indian and American investigators meeting in Washington, D.C. on the AI-171 crash probe. And finally, story number 5, an interesting one on Australia, down under, banning social media apps, all social media apps for those under 16 years in their country. It's an interesting social development with some consequences for around the world, including India. We'll focus on that. Let's begin with the headlines. Goa Chief Minister Pramod Sawant speaks to Republic exclusively on the Burj nightclub fire tragedy, admits pyros were being used in the club. Sawant ordered a magisterial probe into the tragic fire incident in Arpora of North Goa earlier in the day, which has claimed 25 lives, including 4 tourists and 14 staff members. Goa CM vows stringent action against owners of the nightclub and government officials involved in any laxity after 25 killed in the fire tragedy. 4, including the general manager, have been arrested, and an arrest warrant has also been issued against the owners who are based out of Delhi. Sawant has also reiterated that the government will conduct a safety audit of all nightclubs and restaurants in Goa to prevent similar incidents. More Indigo cancellations continue for 6th straight day. Over 600 flights cancelled across major airports. The government has imposed temporary cap on domestic airfares to ease the burden on passengers, even as the DGCA has warned Indigo of regulatory action if it does not improve its operations, issuing second show cause notice in 24 hours. Parliament is all set for a historic debate on the 150th anniversary of our national song Vande Mataram tomorrow. Prime Minister Modi to initiate debate in Lok Sabha that will go on for 10 hours in the lower house. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh expected to speak after the Prime Minister. From the opposition, Congress Deputy Leader Gaurav Gogoi and Priyanka Gandhi Vadra are likely to participate. Rajya Sabha picks it up Tuesday. All right, friends, let's begin. The Lok Sabha is all set to hold a special discussion on Vande Mataram tomorrow, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi initiating the debate at 12 noon. The discussion, which will span 10 hours in the Lok Sabha and 10 in the Rajya Sabha, marks the 150th anniversary of the national song written by Bankim Chand Chatterjee. Rajya Sabha would pick up the debate, of course, on Tuesday. But what is important is that battle lines are already drawn. Most Muslim MPs have expressed inability to hum the song on grounds of religion. BJP wants Congress to take a position and has teased appeasement already. This discussion is part of the year-long celebrations to commemorate Vande Mataram's 150th anniversary. All eyes are on tomorrow's session, where Vande Mataram, a unifying anthem of resistance for most and a religious symbol to be shunned for others, takes center stage in world's largest democracy.
हमारे राष्ट्रगीत वंदे मातरम के 150 साल होने जा रहे हैं। 1905 में जब अंग्रेजों ने बंगाल का विभाजन किया, उसके प्रतिरोध में वंदे मातरम हर देशवासी का स्वर बन गया।
Born of the pen of Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, a deputy collector in British India, author, freedom fighter, Vande Mataram is more than a hymn. It became the voice of the soil of the Indian nation. Bankim described the nation as a mother and imagined all of us Indians as her children. He first published it in 1882 in his novel Anandamat. However, the song plunged into the heart of every freedom fighter when Guru Rabindranath Tagore recited the poem at the 12th Annual Congress session in 1896. In 1905, when the British sowed the seeds of divide and rule with the partition of Bengal, Vande Mataram became the voice of resistance, the words of unity and the chant for freedom. But our national song's journey was marked by battles, not all physical, woven in the nationalist tapestry with a thread of discord. In 1937, some members of the Muslim League and Congress objected to later stanzas of Vande Mataram. The original stanzas drew inspiration from Vedic imagery of Maa Durga.
उस समय कांग्रेस के एक बड़े नेता ने, जिन्होंने 1923 में वंदे मातरम गाने से इनकार कर दिया था, कांग्रेस के अध्यक्ष के रूप में रहते हुए, और जब वह अंतिम समय उनका आया तो उन्होंने इच्छा व्यक्त की थी कि मेरी इच्छा है कि मैं यरूशलेम में मरूं। बाबा साहब ने तब एक टिप्पणी की थी कि जो व्यक्ति भारत की धरती पर पैदा होकर के भारत की सुविधा का उपभोग करके भारत की धरती को पवित्र न मानता हो, उस व्यक्ति के द्वारा दिए जाने वाले वक्तव्य कभी भारतवासियों के हित में नहीं हो सकते।
Subsequently, as pressure mounted, the Congress passed a resolution in 1937 to only sing the first two stanzas of Vande Mataram, which referred to the nation only as a mother but not as a goddess.
जो काम अंग्रेज नहीं कर पाए, वो काम कांग्रेस ने कर दिया। कांग्रेस ने मजहबी आधार पर वंदे मातरम के एक हिस्से को ही हटा दिया, यानी कांग्रेस ने समाज को भी बांटा और अंग्रेजों के एजेंडे को भी आगे बढ़ाया। और मैं आज एक बात बहुत जिम्मेदारी से कह रहा हूं, जिस दिन कांग्रेस ने वंदे मातरम को तोड़ने का, काटने का, विभाजित करने का फैसला लिया था, उसी दिन कांग्रेस ने भारत के विभाजन की नींव डाल दी थी। कांग्रेस ने वो पाप नहीं किया होता तो आज भारत की तस्वीर कुछ और होती।
देश की आजादी की लड़ाई में जब कांग्रेस अंग्रेजों के खिलाफ लड़ रही थी, जो नेतृत्व में कांग्रेस के सभी शामिल थे उसमें जिस तरह, और भारतीय जनता पार्टी का मातृ संगठन अंग्रेजों का साथ दे रहा था, आज वंदे मातरम का उनको याद आ गई है।
Right-leaning analyst Shubhastra says this reflects the ideology of the Congress party, which is anti-Hindu.
Look, there is a clear historical record that exists. The Congress Working Committee in 1937 formally adopted Vande Mataram as the national song, but restricted it to the first two stanzas, omitting the rest. Now, this talks a lot about the kind of ideology that the Congress wanted to propagate from the beginning. The early Congress leadership, particularly under Jawaharlal Nehru and Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, they argued that Anand Mat, the novel from which Vande Mataram actually comes from, had Hindu iconography and references to goddess motherland as Bhavani or Durga, and the later stanzas reveal that. I think it is precisely because of this reference to Bhavani and Durga that Congress leadership raised a problem then. It was mainly done to avoid alienating a section of Muslim League leadership, which Congress preemptively diluted these supreme central cultural expressions of the freedom struggle. It also goes on to show that they have always preferred appeasement over accommodation instead of cultivating plural ownership of a civilizational grammar, of civilizational symbols that sort of resonates with all of us. And in order to do so, Congress truncated the symbol itself.
When asked Tawseef, a left-leaning voice, on was Congress's decision to adopt only the first two stanzas a pragmatic constitutional compromise, he pinned the blame on BJP, saying it was an attempt by the government to create a divide.
BJP, by raising questions now over by measuring both the Jana Gana Mana and Vande Mataram, is trying to create a dispute. Is trying to divide people, because that's what BJP does. BJP is challenging the collective wisdom of the Constituent Assembly. That Constituent Assembly, which composed of the stalwarts of the nation, the freedom fighters of the nation, who then decided that Jana Gana Mana will be the national anthem of the country and Vande Mataram will be the national song of the country.
The friction began even before independence and continues till date. The legacy of Congress's resolution that diluted but did not erase the question still shapes the debate. As the winter session of the parliament enters its second week, the Lok Sabha is poised for a landmark discussion tomorrow on the 150th anniversary of Vande Mataram, India's iconic national song.
अब तो सदन चल रहा है और सहमति भी बनी है और अब तो मुझे लगता है कि सोमवार को वंदे मातरम पे चर्चा भी.
The total allocation of 20 hours across both houses reflects the government's push to elevate Vande Mataram's stature, which Prime Minister Modi has described as not merely a word. It is a mantra, an energy, a dream, a solemn resolve that instills confidence and courage.
वंदे मातरम बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. हमारा आज़ादी के लड़ाई में वंदे मातरम नारा लगा करके अंग्रेज़ों के विरोध में संघर्ष किया है और 150 साल पूरा किया है. बंकिम चंद्र चट्टोपाध्याय जी का जब ये वंदे मातरम का लिखने का कार्य किया, उसका 150 साल पूरा हुआ है. ये पूरा देश मानता है. ये पॉलिटिकल एजेंडा नहीं है, कोई पॉलिटिकल इशू नहीं है.
Till today, demand for the full Vande Mataram continues, even as some leaders from school debates to parliament publicly refuse to sing it, citing faith or conscience.
मैं पढ़ नहीं सकता. मेरे मजहब में, मेरे रिलीजन में ये कहा गया है कि अल्लाह जिसने ज़मीन बनाई, आसमान बनाया, सूरज बनाए, चांद बनाए, इंसान बनाए, सारी दुनिया बनाए, हम उसके अलावा किसी के आगे सर नहीं झुका सकते.
जिनको भारत का आजादी स्वीकार नहीं है, अखंडता स्वीकार नहीं है, वंदे मातरम स्वीकार नहीं है, उनको भारत में रहने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है.
150 years on, Vande Mataram's resonance still shakes stadiums, schoolyards, and soldiers' camp. as Prime Minister Modi opens the 150-year legacy debate on the question of can BJP propose to restore the full anthem's reverberance and counter leftist historical revisions. Here's what right-leaning voice Shubhastra said.
The BJP can move beyond the rhetorical celebration and adopt a cultural constitutional strategy that recenters Vande Mataram in national memory. Maybe it can commission a scholarly, multilingual, critical edition of Vande Mataram, which will restore the text not just as a patriotic song but also as a key work in Bengali literary modernity, countering this whole narrative that it is majoritarian. Most leftist critiques treat the Vande Mataram through the lens of only through a communal lens. Now, a BJP-led initiative could foreground how this song was catalyzed the Swadeshi movement, how it shaped the anti-colonial mobilization, and how it served as a unifying chant across caste and linguistic boundaries.
With Prime Minister Modi leading the debate, will this become genuine historical reckoning on the anthem's evolution? Here's what the left thinks.
Prime Minister Modi is heavily misguided in leading this kind of debate, which only divides people. Why is BJP time and again hell-bent on advising the Prime Minister on speaking on issues which only divide people and which only insults our freedom fighter? The national anthem was adopted in Constituent Assembly in 1950, composed of the then high and mighty of the country, the then freedom fighters of the country. Now, so many years later, we are questioning the decision that was made in the Constituent Assembly. Yes, now Parliament, in Parliament, Prime Minister Modi has the majority. He will do whatever he can. He can pass any resolution, any bill. But are we on the right track by raising these kind of issues?
From Mahatma Gandhi's prayer gatherings to Subhas Bose's Azad Hind Fauj, from Tagore's voice to Lata Mangeshkar's, Vande Mataram endures a forever emotion for India. The winter session running till December 19 will shift to electoral reforms post-debate, with Prime Minister Modi likely intervening. For now, all eyes are on tomorrow's session where Vande Mataram, a unifying anthem of resistance, takes center stage in the world's largest democracy.
Also this week in Parliament, there would be debate on electoral reforms, including the controversial SIR of voter lists starting December 9. Opposition, led by the Congress, have branded SIR a vote chori scheme targeting minorities. The BJP, of course, projects the exercise and its role in purging duplicates and deceased entries to ensure fair polls, as evidenced by recent successes in Bihar and Haryana. Prime Minister has urged constructive dialogue over drama, warning against opposition sour grapes syndrome. Here's what is expected in the Parliament.
In the heart of India's democracy, the winter session of the Parliament has turned into a battleground over electoral integrity. The special intensive revision of voter list has sparked fierce debates, with the opposition accusing the government of vote manipulation, while the ruling BJP defends it as an essential cleanup.
Here is the list of duplicate voters. These are all the people who have voted multiple times.
My request is to you allow us to discuss SIR. It is very important issue. Not only people are dying.
While putting forward your demand, you have right to put forward. You cannot reject other conditions. However, I'm saying again, the matter related to whatever you call it, special intensive revision or electoral reforms or whatever, I have stated before the beginning of the winter session that government is not averse to taking up discussion for anything.
SIR, launched by the Election Commission is a massive exercise to revise electoral rolls across 12 states ahead of the upcoming elections. The government says it is about ensuring clean, accurate voter lists, removing duplicates and deceased names.
इलेक्ट्रल रिफॉर्म के ऊपर चर्चा सरकार की तरफ से एक्सेप्ट करके नेक्स्ट वीक में लेकर आया जा रहा है और लगातार सरकार की तरफ से कहा जा रहा था कि हम हर विषय पर चर्चा के लिए तैयार हैं, सदन को चलने देना चाहिए। अब ये इलेक्ट्रल रिफॉर्म जब आ रहा है तो मुझे लगता है इसके बाद सदन को डिस्टर्ब करने की विपक्ष के पास कोई भी कारण नहीं होगा और सदन के बाकी बचे हुए दिन सुचारू रूप से जनता के हित में कार्य करते हुए हमें लगाने चाहिए।
But the opposition calls it a sinister plot. They claim it's leading to the deletion of legitimate voters, especially from the minority and poor communities, and has given caused deaths among overload BLOs as the reason.
This should have happened in the monsoon session. There's so much of delay. The monsoon session was washed out only because of the obstinate attitude of the BJP government. They could have allowed to have a discussion in the House in monsoon session. Now the 2 days of this session also is wasted. But in any case, now that they have allowed after constant pressure from the opposition parties, we will discuss about it, we'll debate on it, we'll place our views on SIR, which we are very clear is a very despotic and dictatorial move.
The Supreme Court has upheld the Election Commission's authority, but the political storm rages on, stalling Parliament for days until a truce was reached for a 10-hour debate on electoral reforms.
SIR का बहुत ही तात्कालिक और ज्वलंत मुद्दा है, क्योंकि इस पर चर्चा होने से और विपक्ष के द्वारा सुझाव से इस देश का लोकतंत्र बचेगा।
Leading the charge, the Congress and the Indie bloc have labelled SIR as vote chori. They argue that it's a BJP Election Commission nexus to rig future elections, pointing to parties' recent wins in Bihar and Haryana as evidence.
5 states would be going to elections next year in 2026. SIR is a major issue in 4 out of these 5 states. 4. Government has kept Assam out of the SIR exercise for reasons best known to them. And there is a controversy on that, why Assam has been kept out. As winter session will come to an end in next 1.5 weeks and no much time is left, I think if after the discussion in the parliament, if government or election commission does not take any concrete steps that gives the required relief to electorate as well as administrative machinery, in the first week of January, when budget session will begin, SIR would again be an issue before the parliament. It could be an issue if no concrete step is taken after this discussion this time.
Rahul Gandhi's campaign against SIR has galvanized the opposition, who walked out of sessions demanding immediate debate.
लोकतंत्र पर आक्रमण हो रहा है, अंबेडकर जी के कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पर आक्रमण हो रहा है और डायरेक्टली मोदी जी, अमित शाह जी और ज्ञानेश जी जॉइंटली पार्टनरशिप बना के कर रहे हैं।
आपको नहीं लगता उठाना चाहिए? बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा है। अगर वोटर लिस्ट में कोई ये सारा हो रहा है तो क्यों ना उठाएं हम? और सरकार को चर्चा कर देनी चाहिए, चर्चा करें और आगे बढ़ें, क्यों नहीं?
Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge escalated the urgency in Rajya Sabha, highlighting human costs.
Keeping aside all other business, the government should take, the House should take 267 discussion. That is important. That's why we request, sir, you give us permission to start discussion on 267 that SIR.
हम चाहते हैं, हमारी मांग है ऑपोजिशन की कि SIR का टाइम बढ़ाया जाए, क्योंकि अभी तक 60% ही लोग फॉर्म भर पाए हैं, 40% फॉर्म भरना शेष है। जहां BLO में इतना प्रेशर है, जहां इलेक्शन कमीशन ने कोई तैयारी नहीं करी है कि फॉर्म्स कैसे भरे जाएं। अब प्रेशर के तहत जहां BLOs आत्महत्या कर रहे हैं, तो इसका जिम्मेदार आखिर कौन है? हम चाहते हैं कि बहुत ही व्यवस्थित तरीके से SIR की प्रक्रिया पूरी हो और डेमोक्रेसी का ड्रामा ना बनाया जाए।
The BJP dismisses these claims as sour grapes from a losing opposition. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju along with Prime Minister Modi blamed disruptions on few parties, venting electoral frustration.
ड्रामा करने के लिए जगह बहुत होती है, यहाँ ड्रामा नहीं डिलीवरी होनी चाहिए। नारे के लिए भी जितने नारे बुलवाने हैं वो पूरा देश खाली पड़ा है। जहाँ पराजित होकर के आए वहाँ बोल चुके हो, जहाँ अभी पराजय के लिए जाने वाले हो वहाँ भी बोल दीजिए।
सरकार कोई भी मुद्दा जो नियम के तहत आता है तो चर्चा के लिए तैयार है। जहाँ तक स्पेशल इंटेंसिव रिवीजन का मामला है, ये एक प्रक्रिया है, इलेक्शन कमीशन ने चलाया है और पहली बार नहीं है। देश में कई बार स्पेशल इंटेंसिव रिवीजन हुए हैं, लेकिन इलेक्शन कमीशन का कोई एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्डर या कोई फंक्शनिंग या उसका कोई उनका एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव काम होता है, वो पार्लियामेंट में चर्चा कर सकता है कि नहीं कर सकता है, वो तो नियम तय करेगा और स्पीकर और चेयरमैन तय करेंगे।
With opposition weaponizing electoral reforms to near wash out the winter session's first week, Karan Verma says the BJP must take measure to expose the illegal infiltrators and reclaim the need for SIR.
For every citizen to understand that there is serious legislation that is pending in the parliament. Take for example the coastal shipping bill, different banking amendments. I mean, at the end of the day, the parliament is all for governance. Now, the government, I'm glad it has agreed to discuss SIR, though earlier I was of the view that the SIR comes under the purview of the election commission, and when the party to the discussion is not there, how can you discuss it in the parliament? But be that as it may be, if the government has conceded to that demand, it's a positive step. We need the parliament to function so that important legislation can see fruition. Also, let's not forget, every minute of parliament wasted equals to 2.5 lakh of the exchequer's money. So we don't want a washout now. We've had many washouts. We've had a very incredibly irresponsible opposition that has stalled parliament for frivolous reasons. Sometimes it's Adani, sometimes it's Hindenburg, sometimes it was Pegasus. I just hope this session sees some important legislative business happen finally.
On the question if the move on SIR debate was a panicked government response or legitimate democratic accountability, Pankaj Sharma, the left-leaning voice, says that it is the responsibility and duty of the government to talk on issues that concern the public and place the facts transparently.
Modi government had to agree for a discussion on SIR under disguise of debate on electoral reforms. It has been receiving feedback from across the country through its various agencies. A huge unrest against SIR is taking a solidified shape among the masses. After this, government decided to change its stand on not having a debate on SIR. The government has been firmly denying now to have any discussion that in any way involves the issue of recent steps and decisions taken by the Election Commission. Opposition has always been saying that it is the right of the parliament to have a scrutiny of the overall conduct of the ECI. The government was of the view that nothing about ECI can be discussed in the parliament. But ultimately, government had to kneel down before the pressure of the opposition, sensing the sensitivity of the matter. It is good that now it will be discussed in the parliament.
The standoff led to repeated adjournments. Lok Sabha saw 3 in a one day alone. Opposition staged walkouts and protests outside the parliament, chanting against vote theft.
Yes, nothing will go on. No, I am coming to you. I am coming to you.
Finally came a breakthrough. The government relented to a December 9 debate on electoral reforms, including SIR, with 10 hours allotted. But tensions linger. Congress hailed it as a win against arrogance.
Our demand is only for a debate. Last one session completely washed out because of the government stand. Not having a debate on electoral reforms or SIR.
As the December 9 debate approaches, all eyes are on whether this will lead to real reforms or more deadlock. SIR isn't just about lists, it's about trust in democracy. With Congress demanding accountability and BJP urging cooperation, the outcome could define India's electoral future.
On December 10th, India and the United States return to the negotiation table. A high-level US delegation is set to land in New Delhi, pushing forward the first tranche of the long-delayed bilateral trade agreement. Can both sides break the gridlock? Can the 2025 deadline still hold? And what do the two leaders need to concede or defend to unlock the $500 billion trade goal? Let's set the context.
As Deputy US Trade Representative, Rick Switzer arrives in New Delhi this week for the next round of tariff and trade talks. Expectation is building up. India has already submitted what officials describe as the final concessions on the market access. But for New Delhi, energy security remains non-negotiable. Pharma, textiles, digital goods and broader market access remain the core asks. Agriculture, still a red line sector. Putin's Delhi visit last week sharpened the geopolitical angle, just as the US team sealed its travel schedule.
The leadership of two countries, and Prime Minister Modi and I in person, pay particular attention to deepening multifaceted economic ties between Russia and India. Following today's negotiations, we adopted the program for the development of Russian and Indian economic cooperation. This comprehensive document aims at making sure that we can achieve the goal Mr. Modi and I set for ourselves, so that we can increase the trade volume by 2030 to $100 billion.
So has Moscow's proximity increased India's leverage or complicated the final stretch? We asked economist Siddharth Sanyal that question.
But I tend to say in today's world, you have multiple channels of negotiations all along. You have a few multilateral negotiations, and you have several bilateral negotiations also. And I think in case of India and Russia, it's a long-lasting strategic alliance that has survived the test of time over several decades. So I don't see that will necessarily jeopardize India's prospect in the upcoming India-US negotiations. I think these two things need to be seen separately, and in view of one particular negotiation, we cannot reduce the importance and prospect of the other one.
Siddharth Sanyal, however, insists that Putin's visit is but a minor irritant for the US. Meanwhile, the US stakes are equally high. Exports from India to the US have already declined, and the tariff penalties linked to Russian crude have become politically sensitive in Washington. Ahead of the 2026 midterms, the Trump administration needs visible wins. And that raises the question, did Washington's tariff pressure put India closer to Moscow? And with timelines shrinking, what minimum outcome does the US side now require to keep the deal on track? We put these questions to US economist Willem Hendrik.
Well, clearly the very cordial and friendly relationship between Putin and Mr. Modi does not please Washington, that is clear. But no significant new agreements or commitments were made, either on the military side, Russia being a very significant supplier of arms for India, and also not on the economic side. And the only economic dimension that really matters here is Russia's sale of oil and other carbons, but mostly oil, to India. I believe that the reduction of Indian companies' demand for oil from Russia will likely continue because of the sanctions that have been imposed on firms and shipping companies in Russia and outside it because of the Ukrainian war. So I think this is a minor irritant in Washington, but not a strategic development either from the geopolitical point of view, where Russia is, because it is a massive nuclear power, is very significant, or from the economic perspective, where except for its supplies of oil to India, Russia is a very minor player.
So where do both sides stand? India believes its final offer is already on the table. The US is sending a senior team, led by Switzerland, signaling urgency. And the window to close the first tranche is rapidly tightening. If next week's talks unlock tariff relief, the rest of the framework can accelerate. If not, the path to a comprehensive agreement may extend well beyond 2025.
We are talking to the United States, of course, but we don't do deals in a hurry, and we don't do deals with deadlines or with a gun on our head.
But that's how deals are done these days. It's a deadline.
I don't think so.
Tariffs come in midnight on this date. Take it or leave it.
India looks long term. India never takes decisions in a rush or on the pressure of the moment. And we've accepted if there's a tariff on us, there is a tariff on us. We're looking how to overcome that. We're looking at newer markets. We're looking at a stronger demand impetus within the Indian economy. So we have a very resilient structure, 1.4 billion people, young. Our average age is 28.5 years, very aspirational. 1 billion internet users connected to what's happening at the Berlin Global Dialogue, aspiring for a better quality of life for their families. So they are not in a situation where they want to do suboptimal deals. We'd like to really look at the long term. We recognize that 20, 25 years from now, we'll be a $30 trillion economy. And accordingly, we will negotiate based on the future. A trade deal is on the long run.
Right.
And we have to recognize the future and get the best deal for the country.
The stakes are strategic, the timelines are political, and the negotiations, now entering a decisive phase, will shape India's trade ecosystem for the next decade.
On to the next one. It was 12th of June 2025. This year, 241 lives were lost when Air India flight AI 171 to London, a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, went down minutes after takeoff from Ahmedabad. Months after the crash, the investigation is entering a crucial phase. This week, Indian investigators will be in Washington, D.C., sitting across the table with the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, examining every byte of data, every second of cockpit audio, and every line of the flight parameters recovered so far. Here is what is expected out of the meeting.
Next week's meeting at the NTSB headquarters in Washington isn't just a technical briefing. It is a critical cross-check of every piece of data gathered so far. The AI 171 crash, 241 lives cut short in a blink of an eye. Families still grappling with what went down that afternoon. Hundreds of questions, yet no closure. With the meetings now slated, families expect clarity. India's AAIB is leading the probe, but data from a Boeing 787 system sensors and black box often require multi-nation review. We asked aviation veteran Group Captain G.P. Bajpai what such a joint meeting typically involves and why the American NTSB is a part of the probe.
It is very usual and a formal meeting. NTSB being a investigating agency for USA, for whom the regulatory authority is FAA, Federal Aviation Authority. So NTSB is the investigating agency for them. And since the crashed aircraft, OEM of the crashed aircraft and the engine of the crashed aircraft were belonging to USA, so it was but obvious that NTSB will get involved.
But the meeting comes in the middle of friction between Delhi and Washington. Sections of United States media last week suggested that the pilot may have deliberately turned off the engines, a claim Indian unions called baseless, harmful, and deeply premature.
See, first and foremost thing I would like to tell you that on April the 10th, 2025, a state-of-the-art lab set up by HAL was inaugurated by the Honorable Minister of Civil Aviation. And the media reported that the lab is capable of repairing and decoding and downloading the FDR and the CVR. And this would enable all types of aircraft which are flying in India, that their data will be shared by those OEMs and incorporated in the lab. That is why on the floor of the parliament, the Honorable Minister had said that these black boxes, when they were news that these black boxes were damaged and they were sent to US for decoding. It was denied that these were decoded and downloaded at the AIB lab of HAL. Now, the investigations being carried out by the NTSB, that is one of the specialist bodies in the world, and often their help is taken by different countries when they're investigating. Even the AIB investigations, they have included the officials from NTSB. They are, I would say, they are subject matter experts and they fulfill all conditions of the ICAO Annex 13 and ICAO Doc 9756 Part 1. So this is primarily what I judge from this report, that the Indian specialists who are investigating, they would be going to US, and this meeting would be, or investigation would be taken forward from where till where the AIB has reached, with two sources of evidence, that is the FDR and the CVR. And this will be deliberated by the NTSB officials, the Indian officials, and the Boeing officials.
Another angle emerging now, the presence of Boeing at the Washington meeting. Some unions worry this raises conflict of interest questions. And some experts argue that if the NTSB wants the entire data stack, they should travel to India, not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we've heard that the Indian team is visiting the NTSB board in the US. We are a bit surprised. If we have done all the investigation here, the NTSB board can also come here and have a look at the documents. And second thing, Boeing will also be present in the US. So we are a little bit concerned about Boeing being present for this meeting. Because actually it's the accident report. So sharing it with NTSB is one thing, but Boeing being there is a little bit discomfort, should I say. So we'll have to check why have we done everything in India? The accident took place in India, everything is here. NTSB should have visited us and then maybe we could have shared the data with them. But anyway, it's a government decision, so we'll have to wait and watch why the government has decided to do what they're doing. So we'll have to take it from there. Are investigators not proficient enough? If somebody wants the data to be shared, they should come here. We have no issues with that. But why should we be going there? So that is what is concerning. So, I mean, that's the most that I can comment about. Because from day one, if we have been discussing, we wanted to know why the black box should go out of India to be interpreted. And here now we have that we are going to take a whole report to the US. Why should we be sending it there to the NTSB? If they are so interested, they can come here and we can always share it. But then I guess it's a government decision, and I don't want to comment on a government decision. But it does not look good for the country as a whole that we have to go with our investigating report to somebody else. I don't know whether it is to seek their approval, whether it is for what we are taking it there, we are not aware. So we'll have to wait and watch what are the repercussions that are going to take place.
Almost 7 months since June 12 crash, families of the 241 victims still have no closure.
Last one, in a historic move that has big tech trembling and parents across the globe watching with bated breath. Australia down under is about to become the first nation to enforce a total social media ban for children under 16 years. From Instagram to TikTok, the digital doors are slamming shut this week. The law kicks in on December 10.
This is about letting kids be kids.
We want children to have their childhood, and we want parents to have peace of mind.
The countdown is over. On December 10, Australia pulls the plug. After a year of preparation, the Online Safety Amendment Act enters its enforcement phase, making it legal for social media giants to allow anyone under 16 to hold an account in Australia. The rationale is stark. The Australian government calls algorithms behavioural cocaine, citing a mental health emergency where social media is a vehicle for scammers and a platform for peer pressure.
This is about letting kids be kids. It's also about empowering parents to be able to have those discussions with their children.
We want children to have their childhood, and we want parents to have peace of mind. So this reform will not just change a law, it will change a generation.
The numbers speak for themselves. Studies show anxiety spikes, sleep deprivation, and a generation lost to doom scrolling. This law aims to break this cycle by shifting liability entirely onto the platforms, not the parents or the kids. Canberra's response is radical. Australia will become the first country to legally ban children under 16 from most major social media platforms. From December 10, apps like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, X, Reddit, Twitch, and others must take reasonable steps to detect and delete child accounts, or risk fines up to 50 million Australian dollars for systematic breaches. But implementation is a logistical nightmare. Meta has already begun purging accounts, demanding government IDs or video selfies to verify age, a move privacy advocates call a surveillance disaster. The burden is on big tech, not on kids. Australia's e-safety commissioner will send legal notices to at least 10 platforms from December 11 demanding numbers on child accounts that they have closed. Those reports must then be filed every month for 6 months. If the regulator finds systematic breaches with patterns of under-16s still active, the case can go up to the court, where judges can impose penalties all the way up to that of $50 million cap. With fines up to 50 million Australian dollar looming from December 10 and monthly reporting mandated, how realistic is Australia's enforcement of the under-16 social media ban against tech giants like Meta and Google, who are already pushing back? Google says anyone in Australia under 16 will be signed out of YouTube and lose features like playlist, comments, and subscription using age data from Google account and other signals to identify who is underage. Meta, owner of Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, has started removing suspected under-16 accounts. Users wrongly kicked off will have to prove that they are 16 or older through an age verification partner using the government IDs or a video selfie. But the giants aren't happy. Google calls the law rushed and says it misunderstands how young Australians use its platforms. Meta warns about barriers for genuine users. The Australian government, however, says this is exactly what parents demanded, while experts warn that ban could backfire, pushing teens from regulated apps to the unpoliced corners of the dark web. As platforms like YouTube sign out minors and Meta requires ID video selfies for verification, will this create a safer digital childhood in Australia or drive the kids underground to unregulated dark web alternatives? The psychology is complex. It is a forced digital detox. But will stripping away online communities cure depression or cause isolation?
This Australia ban has been in waiting for quite some time. There have been various debates in Australia about it. Overall, it is a welcome change and a welcome ban. All of us are realizing more and more that exposure to various social media, increasing screen time, is increasing problems of mental and behavioral nature in the adolescent and young adults.
Drawing from studies showing 95% teen social media addiction rates, will Australia's outright ban reduce anxiety and depression spikes in under-16s? Or will suppressed usage explode into riskier offline rebellion? The world is watching. Malaysia has already announced a similar ban for 2026. And France is trailing bans in schools, making Australia the pilot for a global shift.
In the most short-term way, it should show that they have in place the mechanisms to control the anxiety and the agitation of the young people. They do produce enough campaigns around people, educate parents, educate children, run school campaigns to educate people the reason of doing. See, the psychiatric and psychological fraternity must bring out the reasons more clearly. In 6 months, there can be scientific studies that show reduced impulsivity, aggression, depressive effect, suicidal effect, and in more or less 6 months, the immediate effect of the ban should go away and more people should gradually come into plan.
As Malaysia follows with 2026 ban and EU nations watch closely, what psychological benchmarks must Australia hit in 6 months to prove this model protects the brain over big tech profits? For India, with its massive young population, the question is pertinent. Could the Digital India Act adopt this Canberra model? But the privacy cost is high. To prove that you are 17, you must have to hand over your key document to the tech giants.
People will use VPNs. Absolutely, people will, kids will, bypass the security, like all the blocks. And what will happen is the way of these bypasses, the way, the VPN, through VPNs, they will Firstly, there'll be a series of new apps, series of new players who will be much less safer than what the social media platforms, these tier A social media platforms are. And then the probability of getting hacked through using a VPN, the probability, like, maybe someone might try to go through the dark web to access these platforms. So all these things will reduce our security, and hence, it will not make the world a better place.
As the sun sets on the era of unrestricted scrolling, Australia takes a gamble, betting that a childhood offline is a childhood saved. Whether it works or fails, the digital world will never be the same.